Guys, we are live on Facebook, and this Zoom webinar has now started as well. So we're live on our First Time Buyer Facebook group, which is called First Time Buyer Friends. In case you hadn't realized, we are your first time buyer friends. I'm Amir Rafieh. I'm the creator of the First Time Buyer Planner and the First Time Buyer Hub, which is an online course for first time buyers. Jacob, introduce yourself.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Really excited to be bringing this video to you today. I'm hopefully going to bring some really useful content. We're going to talk a little bit about the first home scheme. I'm actually a buying agent, so I work with buyers to help secure hopefully a good price on a property. I know it's not that easy at the moment. So yeah, we've got lots of exciting things to discuss today about the first buyer scheme.
Lorraine?
Hi everybody. I'm hot. I'm Lorraine. I'm a mortgage and protection advisor working with Zing Mortgages, offering to help you with all your mortgage and protection needs. I've been an advisor for about 3 years now and have featured on here previously, so some of you might have been here before. So yeah, if you are looking for mortgage inquiries, then you can book with Zing from the First Time Buyer Hub.
Awesome. All right, cool. Cheers. Lorraine, cheers, Jacob. So guys, can you do me a favor, just in case you can't hear a single word that we're saying? Anyone that's watching this in the Facebook group, if you could just let us know that you can hear us. And anyone that is now in Zoom, can you let us know that you can hear us as well? That would be awesome. So like, people are still coming in actually.
Oh yeah, all good.
Brilliant. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Shakila. I really appreciate it. Right. Okay, guys, listen, we are going to cover as much as we can. Any questions that you've got throughout this this live, at the bottom of Zoom, you should see like a little hand underneath it. It says raise hand. So any questions that you've got, raise your hand. If you're watching in the Facebook group, then just like leave a comment with that question, and you know, between the three of us, we'll get it answered. So we're going to cover the brand new first home scheme, all right, which is like the 30% discount on new homes, which sounds amazing. These schemes always sound amazing, but we're going to like dive into them to make sure they actually are amazing. We're going to talk about 95% mortgages, because I understand, Lorraine, they're starting to come into the market a little bit more, but they're quite difficult to obtain. So I think just a bit of an update on that. Jacob is going to give us his insight on the current state of the property market, and I know a lot of first-time buyers out there are, you know, excited to purchase their first home, but also like they're up against a lot of competition, and you know, the market just keeps increasing at the moment. Jacob, is that right?
Absolutely. I mean, the last, as some of you watching today may have found out, unfortunately, that the hard way, the last few months have been incredibly competitive. And I imagine it's not rare at the moment for buyers to be getting outbid on properties. It is hard work at the moment out there. And it's one of the reasons why the first home scheme that we're talking about today is so attractive. You start talking about 30 to 50% discounts. That's going to catch people's attention. And especially when they're getting outbid and properties are going for over the asking price. In the normal residential resale market, it's especially attractive then to talk about discount properties.
Okay, so what actually can we touch on the market in general, Jacob? So what is going on, mate, over the last, you know, 12 months? The whole planet has been in some sort of, you know, weird place, but for some reason the housing market.
Absolutely. It's been one of those where my personal expectations of the property market, especially when we went into the first lockdown last year, I thought actually we might see a market that struggles, there's not a lot of appetite, something that you would usually see and associate around Christmas time. It's not uncommon around that sort of time for there to be a real lack of appetite. And actually it's been polar opposite. So there's a number of reasons for that. The stamp duty holiday has really helped drive the market. A lot of people have taken the opportunity and thought we can save thousands by not spending on stamp duty. That's increased buyer demand, but that in turn has then increased the property prices. Actually, something else that's happened, a lot of people don't realise there's a significant lack of stock at the moment. So what I mean by that is there's not that many houses on the market. We're actually down on those usual levels if you compare it to a year or two ago. So you've got buyer demand, which is significant at the moment. You couple that with actually a lower number of properties, and that causes prices to skyrocket. And at the same time, it makes it incredibly competitive and difficult to secure a deal. So there's a number of things going on that have all fueled that at the moment, but it's as I say, coupled to create a situation that's very, very competitive.
And what should first-time buyers do, Jacob? What is your advice? I mean, if they're competing against all these other people and prices are going up, and affordability for a lot of first-time buyers is a big deal, right? I mean, they've worked their backside off to save for like a 5% deposit or a 10% deposit, and now they find themselves, you know, being outbid or like what is there any advice on what first-time buyers need to be doing? Like, what can they do to secure a property over their competition?
It's the million dollar question, Amir, the million dollar question. I mean, it's not easy. It's not a case of there's one magical secret and that's going to, you know, get you, you know, any property you want for 20% under market value, because that's just not realistic. But there are things that you can do. So I think first things first is make sure, if you've got a budget in mind, if you've spoken to a mortgage broker like Lorraine, for example, you've spoken to a mortgage broker, you know what your maximum budget is, you know what your deposit is. Try and stay within the realms of that. And I know that's easier said than done, especially when you see a property that you fall in love with. I know a lot of us will buy on emotion, we'll see that property, we'll have a vision of what sort of property we want, we'll fall in love with it, and we'll do anything we can to get it. And sometimes the best thing you can do is actually just walk away. If it's a case of there are, you know, we've seen situations where there are 4, 5, 6 offers on a property, it's gone significantly over the asking price. That might then be the time to walk away and actually wait for the right one. Because one thing we are seeing at the moment is, whilst it's ultra competitive, it's bizarrely at the same time price sensitive. So properties that are listed for perhaps slightly too much money, they're actually not quite selling as quickly. So if you look on Rightmove at the moment, there's a real mixture of properties that are coming on and selling straight away. They're the ones getting lots of interest, multiple offers, sometimes over the asking price. But actually, there are still properties out there that have been hanging around for a little bit, maybe a few weeks, maybe even a couple of months. That's considered a long time in this market. And there could be a number of reasons why they're hanging around, but quite often it will just be that they're priced too high. Those are the sort of properties that are worth going to have a look, because quite often we'll look on Rightmove, anything that's been on, especially in this market, if it's been on a couple of months, we'll straight away disconsider it. We'll think, actually, there's got to be some reason why that's been on. We're not even going to think about it. Go and view those properties, because the chances are a lot of other people would have also discounted it. They wouldn't have gone to view, and there'll be a lot less competition. And certainly from what I'm seeing, those sort of properties are more willing to negotiate than the ones that are going sky high at the moment.
Mate, that just on the back of that, I think I'm gonna take that advice, and I'm gonna go and offer on something tomorrow. Yeah, mate, that's look, you're right, and that all makes sense. And Lorraine, can I bring you in at this point, actually? So, yeah. You specifically enjoy dealing with first-time buyers, and I know that's mainly just because. You know, I know it's important for you to find the right mortgage for them, but I know conversations that we've had, and the last webinar we did, we mentioned this, but you just enjoy taking first-time buyers down this like brand new journey and taking them from, you know, and whether that is talking to them from, you know, and having the initial chat 12 months prior, and then 12 months later you're finally doing the mortgage for them, whatever, you're there to see them through all the way through, and you enjoy dealing with first-time buyers specifically. And the point I want to make when I eventually get there is that all of these mortgages that you're doing for first-time buyers, you're still having a lot of people coming up and asking for 95% mortgages, are you? And how are they reacting to that, these lenders and these first-time buyers?
So the last time we spoke, the 95% mortgages had just come out, and there was very few lenders offering them. As time's gone on, as we predicted, more and more lenders are coming back to the market. The criteria is very tight, obviously, because it's a huge risk lending 95% of the value. So although they are there, they are stricter on your credit file and affordability, and they did want you to secure longer terms and things. So all that, the longer terms are relaxing slightly. We've got more lenders back, which are making the rates more competitive as well, which can help. But yeah, as I always say with first time buyers, preparation is key. And Jacob just hit on it there when he mentioned about working with your budget, because there's nothing worse than someone coming to you when they find the house and now they want you to find them a mortgage and you're like, actually, no, that's not affordable. So knowing what you can afford before you go out there, knowing what you can stretch to if you do see something and have to negotiate is so important. So I've spoken to a lot of first time buyers over the last few months through the First Time Buyer Hub who haven't even got a deposit in place yet, but they just want to know where they want to be. They almost want to be held accountable. So we'll do an affordability based on their income, and then we can work on where they need to be with their deposit. We'll catch up every couple of months to see how they're getting on, have their circumstances changed, and just help them along the process. So it's not just, job done, do the affordability, get the mortgage, and that's it. It really is about working with them, helping them understand the process as well, and getting them to the best position they can be to go then and bid on houses. And I don't know what you feel, Jacob, but a lot of estate agents at the minute are looking for decisions and principles to make an offer, to validate an offer.
Absolutely that. I mean, a lot of agents right now, as I touched upon earlier, on each property or on some of their properties, they're getting 4, 5, 6 offers. So if it's within your budget and you're offering what is a comfortable amount for you and you don't feel you're overstretching yourself, you could well be competing against other buyers. If you're getting a mortgage in principle in place or a decision in principle in place before, what you're effectively doing is making yourself a more attractive buyer. And especially if the agent has got 4 or 5 to choose from, you want to make yourself as attractive as possible to make sure that they're the one that they're recommending to their client.
Yeah. And Lorraine, what I find really strange are these all these, this big announcement with the 95% mortgages, but like you've got, and then you've got more lenders telling everyone that they're bringing in 95, they're offering 95% mortgages, but it's just so much harder to get them. Like how frustrating is it for first time buyers at the minute? Like,
yeah, so the government, they come in, they drop this bomb that they're going to do this scheme, the lenders all jump on the bandwagon, but they haven't actually got a particular product in place, so we're not sure on criteria and rates and things like that. So it has been really hard for first time buyers, but also some of the first time buyers who haven't been affected by the pandemic have managed to save bigger deposits and are a lot closer than what they were this time last year. So there's always people doing well.
Do you know how many lenders? I'm sorry, I interrupt. How many lenders are there now? Do you know roughly that are offering these 95% mortgages? Are there is it like a handful?
A handful of them are lending. And I saw today that Virgin came out and they were reducing the term at 95%. So you could look at doing a 3-year term as opposed to a 5-year term, which is good. So yeah, it has been difficult. Without things like gifted deposits, the first time buyers really struggle, which is where the scheme we're going to talk about today is a brilliant scheme for first time buyers.
Okay, so yeah, that's a great entry into this. So the first home scheme, everyone, it's another. I think I mentioned in the heading somewhere in Zoom or in the Facebook group, I was like, another day, another first time buyer scheme, which is awesome. There's all these amazing schemes coming out. If first time buyers can actually access them and actually, secure one of those properties. But the first home scheme is something I'm really quite excited about, just because, especially in the short term, those first time buyers that struggle with affordability will now have access to properties that they just would never have had access to. That's right, isn't it, guys? I mean, it's exciting.
So where we were struggling with affordability previously, we would look at shared ownership, for instance, where you're you're purchasing a percentage and renting a percentage of the property. The idea being that you staircase up to own 100% of it in the end. That is a great scheme, but you do have to pay rent on the other side of it. Whereas the First Home scheme is offering you to purchase the property between 30 and 50% discounted, and you're not paying rent on that. There is conditions obviously with it, which means that you do have to sell it at the same discounted value that you've purchased it at, but it does mean that your affordability is going to go that little bit further. So I think it's a brilliant scheme for people who are stuck in between not making affordability for the 95% mortgages and not having a huge deposit, because although a deposit will be required, most lenders will probably want you to have a 5% deposit on the share that you're buying for their security. And so you do still need a deposit, but again, it won't be as big a deposit as the full market value. So I think it's a great scheme, and hopefully we'll see more developments appearing.
And Jake, can you just, mainly because you're on the front, along with Lorraine, you're on the front line with this, but I think you're speaking with a lot of first-time buyers regarding this scheme at the moment, right? And what's your take on it?
Yeah, I'm very much along the same lines as both of yourselves. I'm very excited about the scheme. I think if you compare it to the other schemes out there, so, Lorraine, as you rightly say, you just touched upon shared ownership there. And shared ownership, of course, has its advantages. It allows people to get onto the property ladder, with a lot less initial expenditure, which is the design of this scheme as well. The challenge with something like shared ownership, and you mentioned this, Lorraine, is obviously you're paying rent on the percentage that you don't own. And actually, on top of that, something that often a lot of people forget, if you have a shared ownership property and you decide, actually, I'm going to upgrade the kitchen, I'm going to upgrade the bathroom. When you own a property normally, however much upgrades cost, let's say, for example, if you spend £5,000 on a new bathroom, for example, that's actually money that you're putting into a property you fully own. On a shared ownership, if you only own 50% of the property, actually you're putting in £5,000, but only £2,500 of that you're really going to recoup, if that makes sense. So there's different schemes. There's things that are actually less desirable compared to this one. Even on a Help to Buy scheme, yes, the government are going to offer you a large portion of your deposit, but you're going to have to pay that money back. After 5 years, you start paying interest on it. And then at a certain point in time, you are going to have to pay that money back to the government. It's not yours to keep. What's great about this scheme is actually you get that discount initially, which makes it a lot more affordable. It's, as Lorraine correctly said, it's somewhere between 30 and 50%. That's going to vary depending on what area of the country you're in. So councils will actually decide whether it's going to be the 30% or near to the 50%. So that will change from where you are.
Jacob, sorry to interrupt. So the baseline with the government is 30%, right? So yeah. and it's for new builds only. That's correct. Yeah. Okay. So this is for new builds only. And the baseline is 30%, but the councils, the local councils, at their discretion, can decide with the developer. Is that right? To offer a higher discount. So absolutely that. Yeah. So that is as much as 50%. As much as 50%, absolutely. So there's a significant, even on the lower side at 30%, we're talking about a significant saving here compared to other properties on the market, to resale properties. As Lorraine correctly says, when you come to sell that property in a few years' time, yes, you do have to provide that discount again. And obviously at that stage, it's something to think about, because you're going to sell a property then for arguably 30% under market value. It's then not going to be hugely easy to go and buy your next property. But actually, in terms of a first buy, this is a really good option. And I just want to put that into perspective for everyone here and everyone that's listening. So we're saying outside of London, you will have the ability to purchase a property with a market value of £500,000 for £250,000, as little as £250,000. Am I getting that? Am I getting that right? So if something's up at 500,000, there's a 50% discount. Let me get that. My maths is fantastic. No, yeah, the calculator says £250,000. So that's going to, I mean, that's going to be something that's also quite a massive lifestyle shift as well, right? Because if you could only afford something at 250 grand, that might have only afforded you you know, a 2-bed flat or a 1-bed flat in some areas. But now you're going to potentially have the ability to purchase, you know, a nice big house or something, aren't you, for that sort of money?
Definitely. This is going to completely transform people's options for sure. And again, a lot of that will depend on what areas of the country you're in, because of course, in certain areas, you're going to be able to get a lot more for your money than in other areas. One thing to add to that is, and that's absolutely correct, it's up to 500,000 outside of London. Inside of London, it's up to £840,000. So potentially you could get a property of 840 for as little as 420 at the 50% discount. So again, appreciate you're not going to get as much in London for that sort of money as you would in certain other areas, but it's still a significant save and a significant discount. And as you rightly say, Amir, we're talking about a completely different lifestyle, completely different style of property as well, that otherwise without this scheme would pretty much be out of reach.
Yeah, because I think what's happened, you know, in a lot of areas is that, you know, I think people that work locally, key workers that are on a certain wage, have historically been quite frustrated when they're going up against and competing against people coming in from London or you know, people that are on you know, that live outside of the area on a higher wage that are buying into that area, right? And but that's not going to happen anymore, right? I mean, because this scheme is focusing on local employees. Is that right, Pete? You have to work locally.
Work locally and key workers that it's available to, but each council will have a specific criteria for their region. So it's up to the councils how much discount they're going to offer on these developments, and who they're going to offer it to as well.
Okay. Okay. And so when we say key workers, are we talking about armed forces, or are we talking about like
armed forces,
teachers,
nurses, NHS?
Yeah.
Again, it'll depend how the local council determine key workers, who is liable for it.
Yeah, I suppose as well, this is going to stop it. Do you think this will stop developers? So what I noticed with the Help to Buy scheme, for example, what ended up happening was that developers were just, because there was so much demand because of that scheme, often people were paying like way over the odds for the properties that they were coming across. Developers were intentionally overvaluing these new builds because they just knew that they were going to sell them, right? But this scheme stops that.
The scheme is capped. I believe the scheme is capped at a certain amount of houses per year.
Is it? Okay. Okay. All right. I didn't know that. Yeah, I will. Anyone in this group, I will find that out. I will dig deep and find that out and come back to you. I'll put it in the Facebook group. But yeah. My impression is that it will just stop all of that. It will give. It's just a little bit of fairness back in the market, but you know,
it definitely helps those first-time buyers that are struggling at the minute, that can't get to where they want to be affordability wise, struggling with their deposit. It's really going to help them out. A great stepping stone for them in the property ladder.
Okay. And so Lorraine, if I was a first-time buyer and I approached you with a 5% deposit today, I didn't want the Help to Buy scheme, and I don't know, let's say I wanted the first home scheme. I appreciate it's very, very new, because right now, I mean, you're on the front line with mortgages, and you're trying to delve in and find out which lenders are offering what. And Nationwide are saying that they're going to offer this scheme. NatWest are saying that they're going to offer the scheme.
Yeah, so they've gone to press saying that they're going to get involved in the scheme, but their products are yet to be released, so we're not quite sure on the criteria. I'm going to sound like I'm repeating myself, because we had the same conversation about 95% mortgages last time we spoke, but we're just waiting to find out what criteria they're going to put in place for the products. But we have dealt with similar products previously, so I've actually a mortgage going through at the moment, and the couple bought the house that was 14 years old. So this scheme was actually available 14 years ago. and it was very similar, where there's just a resale covenant on the deeds of the mortgage to say that it has to be sold at 70% value. That wasn't restricted to a first-time buyer, but this first home scheme is restricted to first-time buyers only, which is good, because often what you find with shared ownership is, because you can gradually buy up to 100% of it. They're quite few and far between, the shared ownership, because they can either be bought out by cash buyers, or the occupants have gone to staircase to 100% and own it outright. So this is good that it's passed on to the next buyer.
Okay. What I'd like to know, actually, anyone in the first time buyer group and anyone in Zoom, I'd be really interested to know where you are in the country, because you know, I always find when talking to first time buyers that there's such a divide. You know, you've got Amy's just mentioned she's in Surrey. Amy's a pretty it's pretty expensive in Surrey, isn't it? So yeah, I'm just
Leeds.
Oh, okay, she said very. Yeah. Oh, Jade's in London. Yeah, and then we've got Akila from Leeds. So like you've got all these different first time buyers all over the country. Some of them are finding it a lot easier than others, right? I mean, if you're in an area like Surrey, Amy, I would imagine it's like you said, it's pretty tough. And you find that, Lorraine, is it you know, with the mortgages that you do, you've got some people that are up north, and is it
yeah, and obviously it's relevant as well to income, you know, where you're living, your income can be quite relevant. So but definitely for someone like Amy, we've spoken previously, and I think this scheme is the scheme for you. You need to be looking out for this scheme, and we'll have another conversation and see what we can work with this scheme, because I think in your situation where you're almost being priced out the market in Surrey, this would be ideal. Cool.
And then Wilma from Kent. So Wilma, not a million miles away. Right, my notes have disappeared. Like, I've got two screens here, and I don't know why they've disappeared. And I've put so much prep into this, so I should obviously be able to memorize everything. But so yeah, I think so in terms of in fact, Amy's asked a few questions anyway, so I'll let's touch on that while I'm finding these notes. Oh, Amy said, so when should, in fact, I'll see, Amy, can I bring you in? Can I bring you in?
You don't have to turn your camera on, Amy. You can just come in and chat to us if that's easier.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Amy, I'm promoting you to panelist. I said that in a real chat show host's voice, didn't I? Let's see. Hey,
hi, Amy.
Amy, just unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hey, Amy, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Good, thanks.
Good. I really appreciate you jumping on here. So thank you so much. And I thought it would be, instead of just sort of me looking over in the distance, or it looks like me looking over in the distance, reading something and then waiting for you to reply, and then nobody else knows what's going on. You might as well be turned into a panelist and ask the questions live.
Yeah, sure. So my first question was about when we can expect to see kind of homes with this this option for the first time home scheme, and if there's kind of a minimum amount that is going to be available. Like, is it something that's actually going to be there for us, or not really?
I think, yeah.
No, Lorraine, I'm sorry. I didn't know you.
I think it's regional, so each council will have to allocate, for each new development, the council will be allocated a certain amount of those properties. How they divvy them up between the affordable housing will be completely down to them. I'm not sure on developments, but Jacob, have you?
I think on developments, it's probably going to be as much as 25% of the development will be part of the new home scheme. But as you mentioned, it will depend on, you know, when councils, you know, are prepared to bring it in. They are starting it in the development in East Midlands at the moment. and I think they're planning on rolling it out nationally, hopefully from there. So this is something that's, to answer your question, Amy, it's something that's very fresh and very new. Hopefully it's going to be something that in the coming months and into next year is going to become a lot more familiar to most of us.
Like with the shared ownership schemes, I would always say have a Google your local area, go onto the council website, see if there's anywhere where you can register to find out about affordable housing, because with shared ownership, I always say kind of go on and register and they'll let you know when they become available and where they are. So possibly not right now, but they will eventually probably have the same sort of scheme for the first home scheme where you'll be able to do that and find out your area, your specific area.
And just to clarify, guys, so Jacob, just based on what you said, for every new development that's going to be built, 25% of that must be dedicated to this first home scheme, and that's something the government have said is a must. So every new development, are we saying going forward, every new development that Amy might see going up in Surrey, there she will be able to find a dedicated area of that development for
as it gets rolled out. Absolutely. So that's not going to be the case instantly. It's going to take time, but yes, that is the plan moving forward. That's the objective to what they've set out. So hopefully there are going to be a lot more options now for first-time buyers, especially with this scheme.
Okay. And Amy, I thought your other question as well was really really important. So
yeah, so that was if you can use it alongside the Help to Buy schemes, or the kind of the bank account one, or the equity loan one.
Yeah, so what will happen with the discount, say for instance you've got a 30% discount on it, the borrowing will be 70%. The lenders will ask for a 5% deposit. Some will allow that to be a gift from a family member. You will of course be able to use your Help to Buy savings account as well towards that. I don't think I'll run alongside Help to Buy. That's sort of like a separate scheme altogether, the Help to Buy scheme.
okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
And sorry to jump in, Amy, whilst you're on, it'd be good to know, so where are you at the moment in your search? Have you been out and started viewing properties? What sort of experience have you had so far to try and find your first property?
Yeah, I've not viewed anything yet. So at the moment, it's for me, I've got a sizable deposit, so I've got 40,000 saved. Okay. But there's just me that's buying. So what I can actually afford mortgage-wise is not great for the area. So that's where I'm kind of at this rut at the moment. So I'm hoping this helps.
And I guess absolutely, I'm guessing that's where the first home scheme is really going to benefit you, because like you say, it is challenging when you're on your own, especially. You saved a substantial size deposit, which is fantastic. But
smashed it, by the way, smashing it.
Absolutely. They're doing a great job. So, but it's then the challenge, isn't it, of trying to borrow as much as you can. So hopefully the first home scheme is going to really, really help on that side.
Amy's like a model student. She's done all the preparation. She's got her deposit. She's had a conversation with me about affordability. She's like the model student. You should be very proud of me.
Oh yeah, that I am indeed. I've got Amy, would you like to continue being a panelist, or can I put you back out into the world of?
Yeah, put me back, that's fine.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks,
Amy.
Let me see. I think, please, I hope I'm not going to press this button, Amy, and kick you out the whole thing. No, how do I put someone back out into the... I'm just going to hopefully cut this out of the re-recording. How do I do that? Any ideas how I put someone back into the webinar, into the... I've pressed remove, but then it says that it will remove Amy completely. Ah, don't worry. I've done it. Amy? No, she's gone.
She's gone.
So Jade, at this point in time, which scheme would you recommend for FTBs, which is short for first time buyers, in case anyone didn't know?
all depends on your circumstances. All the schemes, the Help to Buy scheme, the First Home scheme, the shared ownership scheme are all brilliant schemes for first-time buyers. So again, it's about having a conversation with us about your specific circumstances, what your affordability is, where you are with your deposit, where your deposit's coming from, and then from there we can assess the affordability within all these different schemes and work from there. So it's difficult to say one is better than the other because they're all specific to your individual needs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd second that, Lorraine. I mean, it's I think there's various advantages to this scheme that we sort of touched upon earlier, but I think it's very much dependent on your circumstances and actually what you're looking to try and achieve. Because as we see all the time, you find out with different people, they've got different situations, and naturally that's more suited to some schemes more so than others.
Jay, do you know what I'm going to, Jay, can I bring you in? It would be really good to find out where you're at. Like, we might as well do that now.
Yeah.
This group is amazing. They're like, yeah, sure, whatever, bring me in. I'm ready. Okay.
Hi, Jade.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
Jade.
How are you?
All good, thanks. Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
No worries.
So, Jade, where are you at? How can we help you buy a
based
property?
Based in London, and I work in London, so I'm trying not to go too far. And similar as before, I'm a single buyer, so just buying by myself. And so yeah, so it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, especially in London when you're priced out of the market. So, so this scheme must sound amazing to you.
Yeah, definitely. So it's definitely something that I'd like to look into. So yeah.
Have you looked into your affordability? What?
Not too much. I think that was one of the questions that I might have asked beforehand. So when signing up, just to see kind of what the criteria is for all of this. At the moment, I've kind of been talking to some mortgage advisors in regards to how much I can probably get. So yeah, this would.
Oh, I've got Jade. I'm so sorry. I've got your sort of like pre-filled out question here. Yeah, what is the eligibility criteria for the 30% off scheme? Would you recommend it? But yeah, so you're at the I've got you here, but I think we just answered that.
Yeah, so yeah. I mean we've sort of answered that, haven't we? In that it's different for each region, what the eligibility will be, and affordability wise. Affordability.
Sorry, Lorraine.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, Jay, do you have a deposit saved at the moment? What's the?
I do, yes. So the aim is to have 81,000 full of deposit, and I can get a max of 4.75 times my my pay, my salary, essentially.
I think another thing to consider, Jade, if I just jump in, is obviously I appreciate you work and live in London at the moment, so naturally you don't want to go too far. I think it's, if you haven't done so already, almost looking at a map and thinking, well, actually, that's the extent of how far I want to go. And the only reason I say that is because, and this might not apply to the first home scheme so much because the criteria is dependent on you already living or having connections or working in a certain area. So if you do start looking at other areas, it might not apply, and it might in that situation be other schemes that are more appropriate. But if you sort of look at a map of London and think, well, actually, you know, I'm happy to go out a little bit further. You know, you could follow the Euston line out, and you know, you could come to an area sort of towards Hertfordshire maybe or something like that. You're naturally going to get more for your money. But I think it's almost working out in your mind how far you're prepared to go, and that will help shape sort of what scheme might be more suitable to you as well.
Yeah, definitely. It should definitely be something that I look into. I've currently I've got the Help to Buy scheme, so one of those bank accounts. But as I learn more, I'm starting to think, is that one actually that beneficial compared to other ones such as the LISA or Lisa, however you say it, and then obviously this new one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think once you've sort of put some thought around that and worked it out, it'll probably answer a lot of the questions for you. Because as I say, appreciate you're not going to want to go too far and have a massive commute into work. If I'm not sure if you're in the office or if you're working from home, like a lot of us have been, but appreciate if you're, especially if you're office based, you're not going to want to get to a stage where you've got maybe a 2-hour commute on your hands. But if you do look at it and think, well, actually I could go maybe, 20, 30 miles out, the commute's not too bad, and actually you can get a lot more for your money depending on what scheme you're looking at as well. That could really open up a few doors for you.
Yeah, definitely. Amazing.
And Jade, if you haven't spoken to Lorraine already, and if I haven't said it enough across social media, she is an award-winning mortgage broker. You should absolutely have a chat with her. And if you wanted to do that, it's actually as simple as just going to www.bookwithzing.com. And in fact, anyone listening to this, you just go to www.bookwithzing.com. You fill out a really short form, give Lorraine some information on yourself, and Lorraine will jump on the phone with you. And it doesn't matter where in the process you're at, like Lorraine, the last time we were on a webinar, I know you mentioned that you'd spoken to a first-time buyer 2 years prior, and you'd be coaching them essentially all the way up to applying for the mortgage. But only whenever you're ready, Jade. But Lorraine is honestly knows her stuff.
Amazing. I'll bet.
Yeah, it'd be good to have a chat. But you've got your deposit again. You've got your deposit. You've spoken to an advisor about affordability. You're doing great. You're in a great position.
Smashing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like in a room full of winners. This is great.
I know.
So Jane, I now know how to put people back out into the main group. So I'm going to do that now.
Perfect.
Cool. So guys, I'm going to just jump on in. I've had some jot forms come in from people prior to the webinar. So let me get those up and look at some of the questions that have come in from people. Oh, Amy, one of the things that you asked actually, coming back to you, Amy, was tips and tricks for single buyers to afford homes in expensive areas. I suppose we've covered a lot of that, really, haven't we? But Jacob, have you got any other tips and tricks? How can Amy negotiate some money off in a competitive market? Because that's the other thing as well, right? We're talking about first home schemes. We're talking about help to buy schemes. But ultimately, if she was able to negotiate effectively, or maybe get hold of like an off-market property that nobody else knows about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get money off that way.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, this is something that a lot of my clients come to me for, because actually, I think the scary thing is, and we sort of just pretend that it's not a big deal, but actually buying a property, for most of us, is probably the biggest financial commitment you're going to make. And actually what's scary about that is the vast majority of people that are about to make that financial commitment have got zero experience in negotiating. So whereas you think most other financial decisions, either you'll have experience doing it or you'll get someone in to do it for you. So I actually get asked quite a lot by my clients to actually handle the negotiations for them. It's something I do quite frequently, and it just completely eradicates and eliminates that side of the process. It makes it stress-free, and I can just sort of get on with it and get it sorted and hopefully negotiate a great deal in the process. If you're one of those people that are more comfortable handling that yourself, or would rather handle it yourself, there are things you can do. I think the key thing really is, especially when you're viewing the property, utilize the selling agent, utilize the estate agent. They're there, and hopefully, I'm sure some of you might have had experiences where you viewed properties and actually the estate agent wasn't that knowledgeable, and it does happen, unfortunately.
Or helpful.
Or helpful. Hopefully, if it all goes well, you should go onto the viewing, and they will be knowledgeable and they will be helpful. But absolutely utilize that. If you've got 15, 20 minutes in the property with them, of course, have a good look around, see if you like the property, but actually ask the estate agent questions. Find out what's the seller's position, because that makes a difference. You'd be surprised sometimes how much they actually tell you. If it's a situation where the seller is, it might be they're in financial trouble, or they need to move to be near a sick family member, they might be, as a result of that, they might be incredibly motivated to move. But what that effectively means is you've got the upper hand in negotiations. They're desperate to move, and you can account for that in your offer, you can say, well, look, I know they want to move really quickly, so I'm not prepared to give them exactly what they want, but one thing I can offer them is a really quick sale. So definitely that would be the biggest thing on that viewing. If you're happy and you're comfortable negotiating yourself and you don't need that assistance, that's fine. Utilize the estate agent, find out as much information you can about the seller's position, and then use that to your advantage in negotiations.
Yeah, and also, guys, just to touch on that, Jacob, people always are surprised with like I've had many scenarios in the past where a seller has chosen one buyer over another buyer just because they really like them, right? And the buyer that they decided to go with was actually paying less money than the competition, but the seller decided that, you know, they preferred those people as buyers. So if you get the sellers on side and get the estate agent on side, there's a good chance that even if you haven't put in the highest bid,
yeah,
it doesn't mean that you're not going to get chosen, right? If you can work, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and it happens more often than you think. You know, I think the thing is, when a lot of us, especially at the moment when the market's incredibly buoyant, it's red hot right now. So when a lot of us look in the media or we go online and we see media reports, a lot of it is talking about, you know, record prices and ridiculous bidding wars. So we just become accustomed to thinking, well, that's the norm. That's what happens. But you're absolutely right. Quite a lot of the time, we see it quite regularly where we'll be negotiating on behalf of a buyer. There might be another offer on the table that's higher than ours, but because of how we positioned our offer, that is absolutely key. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you are going to get sellers that they're not fussed about timescales or the chain details or anything like that. They are literally just trying to get as much money as they possibly can. You're always going to get those vendors, unfortunately. And in that situation, you know, it may be that the highest offer gets it. More often than not, it will. But actually, as I touched upon earlier, it's so important to try and find out as much detail as you can about the seller's position, because if it's a case of timescales are important to them, you know, funny enough, last week, we secured a purchase for a buyer that we were working with, and actually we weren't the highest bid, but the reason we got it was a young couple that we were working for. The people that lived at the property were a young couple when they bought it. They liked that, and that sounds so simple and so basic, but sometimes it's a reason literally as simple as that can clinch it for you. So the positioning of the offer is absolutely crucial.
And Jacob, that's a service that you offer. Can you put a link in the? You've got a link or something, haven't you, into your calendar?
Yeah, I'm going to try this. So if it should hopefully connect through, but I have typed this out, so I've not copied and pasted it. So let's have a look. Hopefully,
you got. Yeah. So you guys, does that not work?
No, I was slightly wrong on that, but bear with me, guys. I can get that added in anyway. So sorry about that.
We'll add that into the Facebook group. And yeah, if you can figure that out, you can book straight into Jacob's diary using the correct link, and Jacob can help you negotiate money off effectively. So yeah, you know, if you've saved for a deposit, you're in a competitive market, and you know you're feeling like you're getting outbid and prices are going up. Actually, maybe that's not the case. If you instruct a professional to negotiate on your behalf, you know, you might end up being 5 or 10 grand, actually 5 or 10 grand better off, just from being able to negotiate effectively and you know, knowing what to say, when to say it. Yeah. Is that the right link?
I've gone wrong somewhere, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get that onto the Facebook now. So sorry to anyone on Zoom, but I can get that onto Facebook now.
Yeah, don't worry. No worries, Jacob.
We can get that put on there. But absolutely that. I mean, it's. I think the reality is definitely utilise what the estate agent will tell you, but actually realise that when it comes down to the negotiation side, the estate agent is there to try and get as much money as they can for the seller, not to get the best deal for you. So I think any help, and this is sort of where I help a lot of clients, because obviously what my position is to try and help the buyer secure as low a price as possible and effectively fight in your corner rather than the seller's corner.
Okay. And what do you guys think is going to happen in the with the property market briefly? What's going on in the market? Is it still hot? Is it going to continue remain hot? Is it slowing down?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, I think at the moment, as I touched upon earlier, for the last few months, last 12 months, but especially the last handful of months, it's been incredibly buoyant where, as I say, we've had that huge surge in demand from buyers and from first-time buyers, but actually there's a lack of stock. The amount of properties on the market right now are low compared to what we would see in previous years. So that's been a key driver in the marketplace. The stamp duty holiday has really helped prop that up. So it will be interesting the next few months. Certainly at the moment, there's no signs that that's going to tail off. And I think what's really interesting about this year, usually we would see, especially family properties, not so much smaller properties like flats, for example, but 2 and 3 bed family homes. We would usually see that market cool a little bit around summertime where families are on holiday. The key thing this year is I don't think that's going to happen, just simply because most families aren't going away on holiday because of the restrictions, obviously. Some are going away in the UK, of course. But actually, you're not going to have the same amount of people flying out the country this summer. So probably, I imagine we're going to see a fairly consistent market now for the next few months at least.
Wow. Mate, that was fantastic. Lorraine, have you got has anyone else got anything to add before we finish up? I found the link that you sent me, Jacob. So I've put
You've got the right link.
Yeah, I put that in the group.
Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, that's the same link that you've been adding. It was the right link. The first time buyer planner.
Oh yeah, there you go, Jacob. What's going on?
God knows.
Oh, there you go. It doesn't matter. I'll get. Jacob, can you get that link in the? Well, you said you were going to do that anyway. So
yeah, I can get that link on the Facebook post as well. So
awesome. All right. Anyone got any other questions? You feel like we haven't covered something that relates to anything that we've been speaking about? You know, just feel free to put it in the chat or the Q&A, or if you want to come in to this, if you want to come in live, you could just raise your hand in Zoom. Let me double check in the Facebook group as well. Okay, let us know, guys. Or in fact, alternatively, just if you could put into the chat that it's all good, and then I think we'll wrap up, guys.
Yeah, if there's any questions, they can contact us again, can't they? They can.
Yeah, exactly.
Know where to find us. Come and have a chat.
Okay, cool. All right, Jade's all good. All right. Okay, Amy said that's really helpful. I really appreciate the feedback, Amy. And also, I'm just gonna, before we head, listen, if you guys haven't got your copy of the planner, you should definitely order that. So you just go to firsttimebuyerplanner.com and you can get your copy. And if you're not a member of the First Time Buyer Hub as well, when you go to order this, there is a special discount on the for access into the First Time Buyer Hub. If you want the First Time Buyer bundle, which is includes a home move box, it includes the planner, it includes the course, it includes discounts on a mortgage broker fee. Lorraine, we're offering £100 discount on your mortgage broker fee if with the First Time Buyer bundle. The same goes with conveyancing fees as well. So all you've got to do, if you want the First Time Buyer bundle, then just head to www.firsttimebuyersecrets.com, I think it is. So just firsttimebuyersecrets.com, and you'll be able to buy the bundle from there and get loads of goodies, and it will really help you in your journey. And if not, we are here to help along in your journey as well, guys. So, you know, reach out on Facebook, email us whenever you want. You want to book in with Lorraine, it's bookwithzing.com. You want to have a chat with Jacob, the link into his calendar is there. We genuinely want to take you from where you are today to where you want to be, and we want that, and that's home ownership, and we want that transition to be as smooth as possible for you. You've got a team of experts that want to help make that happen, you know, hopefully the more information that we give, the more of these webinars that we do, because I know often when it comes to mortgage brokers and property professionals, it's always really difficult to know who you can trust. You know, I think especially as a first-time buyer, it's the first time you're doing it. If your parents aren't there to help you out, for example, how do you know that the estate agent that you've just spoken to that wants you to get you in to see their mortgage broker is the person to trust? How do you know that someone that's just given you some advice, some other property professional that's giving you advice is the right advice? Yeah, I want this to be a central place for us to just give some really upfront, honest property advice, and we genuinely want to help you guys out as much as we can. So yeah, you make sure you stay in touch with us, and I think we'll finish up.
Good luck. Thanks for having us.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Bye-bye.